Hello to you. I'm Michelle Eve, and welcome to episode 5 of the Mystical Times blog podcast. This episode is about the ghostly tales of Tewkesbury. Tewkesbury is a medieval market town in Gloucestershire. The town is famous for the 1471 Battle of Tewkesbury, which was a decisive battle in the War of the Roses. The battle is reenacted every year at the Tewkesbury Medieval Festival. It is also well known for its 900-year-old abbey, buildings that are several hundred years old, and along with its maze of historic alleyways. It's no surprise that Tewkesbury has its fair share of ghostly tales. The first place we'll visit is the Royal Hot Pole, which is now a chain-owned pub and restaurant, and it's situated on Church Street. Parts of the building dates back to medieval times and was, at one time, 2 separate buildings, a private residence and a coaching inn. On the first floor, staff have reported one area becoming extremely chilly, and they are reluctant to go on that floor during the night. Rumour has it that this chilling presence is that of the ghost of a chef that once worked there when it was a coaching inn. The chef was said to have stabbed to death one of the server maids with whom he was having an affair with, as she was threatening to tell his wife about the affair. The chef was then said to have thrown himself into the River Avon, which is at the back of the building. In the 1950s, a member of staff went to the yard to fill up the coal buckets, and when he looked up, he saw a man staring at him. This silent man was wearing a cloak and riding boots, very much in the style with the Civil War. When the member of staff spoke to him, the figure disappeared right in front of him. But the most amazing ghostly experience that I've heard is that a night porter saw Roman soldiers marching in unison across the ground floor landing, but only saw them from the waist up. One of the oldest roads in Tewkesbury is Tollesley Lane, which has had some very strange experiences reported. Where the narrowest part of Tollesley Lane meets the High Street, there is a building which once housed a branch of a well-known UK retailer of newspapers. The then manager of the store lived above it with his family. They would regularly hear doors banging and footsteps and just some very odd noises which couldn't be easily explained. The cellar of the building was the most troubling of all. The manager said he had seen something small and dark in there, which gave off a sense of evil. The local paper boys would never enter the cellar alone when they had to pack their delivery bags up early in the morning. They would always wait until there was a group of them, as they were too scared to enter the cellar on their own. The building was later taken over by a ladies' fashion shop. The staff who worked there experienced ghostly phenomena and ended up going to the local newspaper, who sent a reporter and photographer over to cover the story. The ladies who worked there said that clothes were strewn across the store when nobody was there. They would hear doors being opened and slammed upstairs when there was no one up on that floor. 2 of the staff volunteered to take the reporter and a photographer down to the cellar, but they had only taken a couple of steps down there when they felt they were unable to go any further. The photographer took a photo of the staff members huddled at the bottom of the stairs, and they were told that they had seen a creature and felt the presence of evil. They described what they had seen as a black furry animal, not a cat or a dog, whilst pointing to a darkened alcove of the cellar. The photographer then pointed his camera in that direction and tried to take a photo, but his camera had jammed. He turned around and took a photo of the stairs, and the camera worked, but when he tried again to take a photo in the cellar, It just wouldn't work. He tried several times, but the camera would just not work in the cellar. When the reporter returned to her office, she typed up a report about the strange things happening in the building. She did this on her work computer and saved the file. This was along with other reports that she had written that day. But her very next day at work, she tried to edit her reports, but the report about the haunted building had just vanished. Strangely, all the other reports typed out that day were still there. Also on Tollesley Lane, the strangest of ghost sightings have been reported. People have reported seeing a full, ghostly funeral procession being held. The procession is led by undertakers and pallbearers, all wearing full black mourning garb, tall top hat with veils, along with a coffin in a horse-drawn hearse. This sight has been reported by many, even police officers, but it has only been witnessed in the darkness of night. You can imagine the history that has happened around the 900-year-old abbey in Tewkesbury, and if its walls could talk, it could tell you many things. But it's the people who have witnessed ghostly activity inside and on the grounds of the abbey that can make you wonder if the lives of those who worked and lived on the grounds have a story that needs to be told. The abbey was used as a place of hiding during the Battle of Tewkesbury, when the survivors of the bloody battle took shelter in the abbey. It is also said that the Lancasterians were actually chased into the abbey by the Yorkists and were then slain. The blood ran so deep inside the abbey that it was closed until all the bloods were cleared, and then the abbey was re-sanctified. The noise of the battle is still heard when all is quiet. The ghostly screams and the cries of 1,000 men that died echo throughout the mists of time. There are also ghostly monks who are seen inside the abbey. These were the men who were ejected from their monastery during the dissolution, so it's no surprise that their ghostly figures are seen from time to time. Many an organist who is sat alone playing the Milton organ have reported a figure in black sat beside them. Another ghostly monk figure is seen climbing the tower and entering a room where the monks worked, whilst another monk figure is seen walking across the same area and disappearing into the wall where there had once been another room. There was a wedding service being held at the abbey, and the photographer took a photo of everyone who was attending the wedding. When this photo was developed, a dark, cowed figure was spotted, sitting on the edge of the seated guests. This figure was only caught on this one photo, and no one fitting that description had attended the ceremony. By the abbey there is a street called Church Street, and one of the properties there is a 16th century building called Warwick House. It's a Grade 2 listed building, and it's a magnificent timber-framed building, which has had lots of different uses over the last several hundred years. In the 1970s, it was a bistro, and the staff would regularly see the figure of a person on the stairs. But when the staff would approach them, the figure would just disappear. This was said to happen when the bistro was closed for the evening, so no one, apart from the staff, should have been in the building when this figure was sighted. Along with the figure on the stairs, there were also sightings of a large Alsatian dog that would be seen all over the building. The sightings of both the figure and the dog became more frequent, and alongside this, unexplained noises began. There were slamming doors and sounds as though things were being moved around. These sights and sounds become very frequent for around 2 weeks when suddenly a fire broke out in the building. Luckily, it was under control before it spread further, and cause more damage. Obviously, it being a timber frame building, it would be more susceptible to fire, but no one could explain how the fire, in such a short time, could become so intense that it melted the aluminium beer barrels within a very short amount of time. Were the sightings and noises some sort of warning? That's all for episode 5, and I do hope you've enjoyed hearing some of the ghostly tales from Tewkesbury. For the next episode, we stay in Tewkesbury to hear more ghostly tales from this medieval market town. And don't forget, if you have had a paranormal, spooky experience in Gloucestershire, then please email me at mysticaltimesblog@gmail.com. Till next time.